on my side panels here I'm going to put a third coat. Now I'm going to bring it in the garage so no bugs land on the wet paint. So here are my panels. I just put a third coat on. I went a bit heavy on these because it's an area on the tractor where there's a lot of wear and tear and the paint will come off easier, and it's something that people see a lot, the side panels by the engine, so I thought I'd give it a good heavy coat there. So that'll be the final coat on these panels and they're going to be ready for the clear coat. At this point here I'm going to throw a coat of paint on this back panel here. The guy at the John Deere place told me that the paint, you don't need primer, so for this small area here I'm just going to coat it with the JD paint. So that'll do for the first coat. Gotta wait 24 to 36 hours and recoat it. I also want to give the air breather assembly a nice coat of black paint. So I'm gonna sand it down with a 400 grit sandpaper and then just spray it on the tractor here. Now this is the paint that I'm using. It's a Trimclad Professional Gloss Black paint. I'm going to go around and spray it. Cover anything else that you don't want to be painted. So here's the first coat. I'm going to throw a second coat on tomorrow and that'll do for that air breather cover. So I've got 3 coats on the panels here and I'm ready to take off the painting tape. So now I've got the panels all done up. That's finished. Just got to put a clear coat on later on. And I've got this panel over here painted and I'll be putting that on later on. So here's that panel. I had to remove it. I thought I could paint it on the tractor, but it was too complicated, so it's just going to go over here. Before I put this panel up, I'm going to paint all the bolts with the green so they match the panel. So I've just got that panel on, all the bolts are on and painted. So at this point I'm about 3/4 done the whole tractor. What's taking a lot of time is taking off stuff and putting it back on and putting the coats in between, because you got to wait about 24 to 36 hours between each coat of paint. That's what it says on the can of a JD paint. So I'm trying to follow the instructions as good as I can. So it's coming. I'll be glad when it's done. Now the next thing I'm going to do is remove the front wheels. But I've put blocks on the back wheel so that the tractor won't roll back when I jack it up. So I'll show you how to take off the front wheels using a car jack. So I've got my jack lined up to this thing here. Just going to jack her up. All you need to do is get it about 1 inch off the ground. Then you need to remove this plastic cup here. The way I usually remove this is with a small crowbar, and I just go in between here, pry the cup out. Just like this. Next you need a good pair of snap ring pliers to insert them in the end of the clip here. And the clip, remove it, and that's all that's holding the wheel on, is just one clip like that. Just remove it. There you go. Now I'm going to sand the rims with a fine sandpaper, like a 320 grit or 400. Tape around the tires and then spray paint the yellow paint. In the meantime though, you may want to put the cover and the clip in a safe area so you don't lose that. Next, you should put a block under here just to support the tractor in case it falls. And now while I've got this apart, I'm going to throw a bit of paint under here where I couldn't reach when the wheel was on. Anyway, so this should do for the paint. Now I'm going to move on to the wheel. So I'm just going to sand the inside of the rim with the 320 grit sandpaper. A little rust on the rim, so that'll make it a lot easier. So I'm just really sanding it to give the next coat of paint some teeth to grab on. Because if you don't sand it, it's a bit glossy and the paint could chip away later on. So just a quick sand like this, and then wipe it off and you're ready to paint it. So I've got my tire taped up on each side, just like that, and I'm going to spray with some yellow paint. Then I'm just going to repeat the process on the other front wheel. So I got the first coat on there. I'm going to let that dry, and tomorrow I'll put the second coat on. So I've got 2 coats of paint on my tire rims. Now I'm just going to remove the tape and she'll be ready to put back on. So here it is. So now I'm just going to put the front wheels back on and I'll show you how to do that. Just insert it on. Then you're going to need your snap ring pliers. Grab your ring in your pliers, set them so that when you press on them, the ring's going to open up. Now just open them up and bring them onto the groove at the end of the shaft. You can check to see if the ring's on tight by moving the wheel back and forth, and that's good. Next, just pop this cap on, and that's all there is to putting the wheels back on.